Hello, hello, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Stamping A to Z. I'm Linda Gibbs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Canada. This is, well, as I said, it's Stamping A to Z. It is a live that I do every week. I show different techniques and different ways of using products. It's kind of all-encompassing. It started as A to Z, going through the catalog and showcasing every single product and how to use it and different ways to use it, because you have stuff in your stash that you might be like, oh, I've already used it, or I don't know how to use this. So my videos are here to help, hopefully, and hopefully inspire you to do some new things with your stuff. So today I'm actually pulling out of the new mini catalog that is going to be released in September. It's not available to customers yet, but as a demonstrator, we were able to pre-order. So I'm going to use a few things out of there, so you'll get a few little sneak peeks. And yeah, there's some beautiful new decorative masks that I'm going to use. I've done several videos now on how to use masks, and yet there's always new ways to use them. So, and the old ways are great too. So yeah, let's get you turned around and we'll get started on the fun stuff. Try not to put my finger in the camera here. Okay. There we go. So I'm not allowed to show you the inside, but you are allowed to see the cover. This is the new catalog. If you would like to get your hands on a catalog, let me know. I can get one out to you. Sorry, just trying to find, gotta get this on my iPad so I can see if there's comments. Here we go. Found myself. Okay. So if you're watching, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to hear from you. I love comments as I go. I try to look for them. They don't always show up, but I would love to hear from you. All right, so that's the cover of the mini catalog. This is the Abundant Decorative Masks. These are new in the mini catalog. So there's a whole pile of them in here, and they're very varied. So there's a whole snowflake one. There's a kind of a, what do you call it? Gingham, not houndstooth, gingham. There's a leaf one. And then there's a set of 4 of these. They're kind of layering masks. They don't, I mean, you can do it without. There's a notch, and I'll show you how to use them. But it's very simple, very easy, and it creates beautiful daisies, which are my favorite, especially those Gerber daisies. You guys love Gerber daisies? They are like my absolute favorite. All right, so I'm going to use a little bit of everything here, just to give you a show. I'm not going to, because I've done so many lives or decorative mask techniques where I've used blender brushes, I'm just going to show you the finished card. This was done with blender brushes, just layering them on and using a blender brush, and I even used the houndstooth. Is that what it's called? Or is it gingham? I don't know. Anyways, so that's just your basic ink blending brushes, which are these, and paper. I'm going to take it one step further, or one step different, however you want to look at it. And we're going to do a couple different techniques with some different ones. So I'm just trying to think which one we want to do first. Let's start with these. And I have a piece of shimmery white with stuff stuck to it. So we'll use a piece of that. And then I've got my spritzers here somewhere. These are in the catalog. I have added some re-inkers. So these, you just add a few drops, and then there's alcohol in these ones. You can add water. Either one works. The alcohol dries quicker and maybe doesn't kind of spread as much as the alcohol because it dries quicker. So that is what I'm using for this. And of all the places I got the idea to spritz is from Stampin' Up! Itself. In the decorative masks package, it has a little thing and it says, so easy, just place the mask over cardstock, fabric, or other material and add color. Spritz, sponge, trace, emboss, add texture. So I just went off of there and I was like, okay, what can I do with this? So then we start with number 1, which is the daisies. My goodness, my words escape me. And I'm not doing the whole thing. I'm just going to use a corner. So my sample, I was silly and I forgot to mask off my corners. And since I am spritzing, you definitely want to make sure that you cover everything that you don't want spritzed on, or you're going to end up with, you could use our masking paper, which probably would have been better, but I just have these handy, so we will use these. Okay, so I'm covered and now it's stuck to my paper, so we're good that way. And maybe it'll actually help stick it down. Now, if you really want a detailed look, but you're spritzing, you might want to put a temporary adhesive spray on the stencil to stick it down so it doesn't seep underneath. I find this does a good job, and I actually figured out a way to bring the detail back if you don't like kind of the washy look, which is kind of the point of the spritzing, but it's up to you what you like. So I would suggest not holding it too close to your paper. You want it, you know, fairly high up, and then you're just gonna give it a good spray. Oops. Okay, and let that soak in. And then I would suggest taking a baby wipe or Kleenex or whatever you have and just dab up the excess ink so you don't get it everywhere. It's more than any, you can just rinse these under water. I just don't want to get it all over my hands and my stuff, and then you make a mess of things. Okay, so then we will take this off, and you can kind of peek to see how it went. Oh, the alcohol is very strong. Okay, there we go, and it did. So there is pretty good detail without using some adhesive spray. So it does help to really stick it down. I was only using the one little washi tape before and it was spreading. You will see, and I will show you how to fix it if it does that for you. That's what playing's about. You just kind of learn. You don't like something, or you do like something, or you want to fix something, and then you just come up with new ways. Oh, I forgot to show you the best way. So if your paper isn't big enough to see where the notch is and you're trying to line things up, you can, let's see, let's line this back up here. Okay, you can take a blender brush or whatever you have and just kind of go over here. And this would require actually holding down your paper would help so that it didn't move, right? And then once you've done that, take this off, and then you've got your little corner with the notch. So then when I come in with this one, I can just line up the corner here and it lines up my leaves. Now, these leaves, if you look at it against the flowers, it just kind of sits on the outside. They're not like connected to the flowers at all. So you can really, like I said, it does not have to be lined up in a super specific. So I'm even going to turn it just so I get a little bit more of this leaf over here. Personal preference, whatever works. I'm going to leave that one there because I don't want my thing to move. We've got that. And then we cover the white there. All right, so we're covered again. And this time I've got my green. And I don't know if I have this on the right side. Oh well. They are slightly different textures on either side, but it's not a huge difference. It will not make or break your stencils. Eek, my pink is going onto my leaf. That's okay. All right, so then I'm going to move that off. And you've got the leaves. So you can see this leaf doesn't have as much detail as my flowers. So I will show you. And I did forget a step, which is probably why it's bleeding a little bit more, is it helps to dry your paper in between layers. It'll just help make sure that that paper is dry and it just kind of soaks in fresh. It's a little bit better that way. Okay, so number 3 is the insides of the flowers. So you can see if we line this up, it lines up in the flower just nicely. We can cover that up again. There we go. Why is this sticking up like this? I don't know. Okay, and then I have some yellow. I'm gonna spray that. I'm spraying my hands while I'm at it, but I might have yellow fingers by the end of this. Pink fingers anyways. Okay, and we'll take that up. This is the messy version of playing with masks. So if you like kind of uncontrolled, messy fun, this technique's for you. If you like control and something to look exactly the way you want it to look, this technique might not be your favorite. Just saying. Oh, I didn't dry it again. I told myself to dry it and then I just got going. Now, I didn't have another spritz with brown. I didn't want to use, they were all full of other things. So what I decided to do is to take my sponge dauber and some pecan pie. And I just came in. Now, this is obviously going to give it a very sharp look, but I will show you how to remedy that so it is a little bit more smeared, watery, I don't know, whatever look this spritzing gives. More of a spritzed look. So I just have my water spritzer, and I'm just gonna spray it here, and that'll just kind of get the water to spread the ink around a little bit because our inks are water-based, and so that'll just soften it up a wee bit. So you get, oh my goodness. It does make it harder to lift and lower if you use all these, but it's nice if you want to keep the rest of your card clean. It does give you that. Okay, so now we've got the basic layout of our stuff. And like I said, the leaves are a little bit washed out. So if you wanted to have a bit more definition, I was going to say detail, definition. My words are, oh, you know what? I'm going to leave that there for now just to hold it down. Get the rest of the stuff out of the way. I'm going to find my leaf stencil and I'm just going to wipe the back of it before I put it down because I've just piled them all on top of each other. And so, oh, see, this is where it'd be handy if I had actually lined it up with the corner, because then to realign it up makes it easier, but that's okay. All right, so now all I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my usual blending brush. This one looks more seafoam-ish. I was sure I had Granny Apple Green in there. It might just be washed out. So I just decided to add some of this, and then it kind of gives you a two-tone look. And then you get the detail on there as well. You can go back and do the same thing with your flowers. I'll just show you on my finished card what it ends up looking like. Okay, so that is technique number 1. I will show you the finished card. Here is the finished, ta-da. So you can see I have some spritz on the corners here because I did not cover it, whereas this one is much cleaner. So, and here you can see it bled a lot more for me. I don't know if I was holding, again, I think the more you tape it down, the more it'll sit tightly and give you the more detail with your spritzing. So that was a good thing to learn, but I ended up getting more detail just by the same way I did the leaves. I just put my stencil back on and I went over it with a blending brush with a lighter, I think I went over it with the bubble bath, so the lighter pink, because I didn't want to take away from what was there. I just wanted to kind of get the definition of the petals and stuff. And you can see my yellow leaked quite a bit more, but again, I had forgotten to dry in between, so that is why. And then I used the thank you. The thank you is from, where did it go now? Oh, right here. It is from the Phrases for All. This is out of the annual catalog, and the sequins are the pastel adhesive backed sequins, and I just embossed it with black embossing powder. So there's a new way to use your masks, is with your spritzers. Alrighty. Next, oops, I'm going to leave this card out because we all know that I go looking for it at the end and then I can never find it. All right, next up is, oops, let's do the, well, this, which one's my wow? I don't even know, you guys. They're both kind of wow. Okay, I'll do the watercolor one next. So, how about watercoloring with stencils? I had never tried this before. I don't know if you guys have tried. It was new for me. I'm going to use this daisy again because, you know, I really like it. And then this one actually uses another one as well, so you'll get to see some of the other stuff that's in here, because I always tend to focus on the fun layers and whatever. So I just made everything wet, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to start. I'm just going to do the big daisy here, and I'm simply going to start with a marker. This is the these are our Stampin' Up markers. So these are the ones that are water-based. They are not alcohol-based like our Stampin' blends. So don't get those mixed up. And I just want to show you. So this is the new one. The tip is different than the old ones. Let me see if I can bet you this is an old one. Yeah. So it was very plasticky and had a very fine, it's still very fine, not quite as fine, but the ink kind of is easier when this was great for just writing, but this is good more, it's still good for writing, but can color well. So that's the difference between those tips. And then from what I read, like, so you can see this is built in differently than the old style. And the tip is supposed to be softer than the old ones. I don't know. It's brand new. So whereas this one's been around for quite a long time. So we'll see. I don't know if they lasted. The old ones lasted forever and you could refill them. Whereas these ones, I don't know. It looks like you can still separate it. I don't know. I have not tried, obviously, because they're brand new. So we'll have to see if they are just as good. So then I'm going to go in here. You could do this with a pencil, I guess, if you wanted to. This is the first, my original one, I did not use this berry burst color. I used, I'm actually kind of thinking I should have maybe used the bubble bath because this is really dark. I was worried the bubble bath wouldn't show up, but you want to, oh yeah, you want a lighter color because you want it to blend in when you're watercoloring. So choose your lighter of your colors that you want to use to do your marker. I'll show you my sample. I actually used gray, crumb cake maybe. I just used a neutral and you can't even see it once you're done with the watercoloring. So don't worry if you don't have a matching color marker. You can just choose a neutral, just the lightest that you have, because you really just want a light. So we'll see what these ones look like. We will see. I suggest doing one step at a time. So now that I've got my petals on, I'm going to work on watercoloring my petals, and then I'll worry about adding the other layers to it. So here I've got, I'm going to use Berry Burst. Let me move all this mess here. You don't need to see that. Right? We've got Berry Burst and we've got Bubble Bath. So obviously we're going to start with the lighter of the two colors. And we're just going to come in, and I forgot to grab a scrap piece of paper here. The one that I had used last time was so soaked. Let's see, I'll just use an old piece of this. Okay. And then we just squirt some water. You can see my water is pink from all the coloring. Since I'm using pinks, I'm not too worried about it. Otherwise, I would clean it out and wash it because you don't really want that to leak into another color, but you want to have quite a bit of water when you're doing this because I tried pre-wetting it, which is usually how you would start, but then you can't get that detail because it just kind of bleeds too much. So here I'm just wetting with quite a bit of water. I probably should have had a glass of water, it'd be easier. But then it's inside. And then you're like, well, I can see the line still. Yeah. This takes a lot of layers, and I'm not going to go through and do the entire flower. Maybe I'll just do these petals, and I'll do a couple of the dark ones so you can see the difference. Because otherwise we would be sitting here for the rest of the afternoon, and I know everybody has stuff to do, just like I do. So, okay, let's do 3 of these, and then we'll do a few of those, and then we can compare, and you can kind of see. All right, so we've got our pink going, and it's wet. So then we're going to come in with the very first. Now you can see why it's so pink, because this is very dark. And what I like to do here is, actually I should have used the smaller brush. I'm going to take my smaller brush here. So these brushes come in 4 tips, 3 tips. There's the thin, the medium, and the wide. I think it's 3. So you have lots of options. So here I'm going to use, ooh, there's yellow here. We don't want that, or brown probably from the flower. Okay, so I want it to be dark, and I'm just going to kind of come in here and spread. And then, that's too much. Take off some of the color and just kind of here and spread it around. And then the more water you put, the more it spreads. But you can see you really don't want this hard edge, because it makes it very hard to get that color out, and then you don't have the nice light color at the bottom or at the top. Whereas if I take this one and I come in and go like so, and then add some more water, then I can kind of then it's so hard to get rid of this. Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted to happen. So you really don't see the lines from the tracing, and then you're going to start getting just kind of the petal, and you just, like, I'm just taking off color instead of adding color. So you can see it's nice and smooth. To me, the no line watercoloring, that's kind of the look I'm going for. It's nice, just kind of smooth look there, like so. And again, we'll add the dark. So you can see it dries quick. So, you know, you want to kind of work on one petal at a time. So then you're not, the color isn't, it's able to spread better because you've got that wetness. So if you don't have the wet, then it looks kind of blotchy. And yeah, it looks really good with that bubble bath tracing. I don't know, what do you guys think? I think it would be too hard to get that dark line to blend, and your whole flower would get really dark, which would be okay. So you would just end up with a darker flower. But you'd have to do a lot more work to get it there. So in the sake of not doing too much work, I'm going to set the flower aside. So pretend I'm still going, still watercoloring, and then I'm going to take this, what did I call it? Houndstooth mask here. And then we'll take a piece of white. And I like to, tape down my paper and my mask so that nothing moves as you're going. You don't need a lot of tape, just a wee bit. And then sometimes your tape gets stuck over on the other side. That's okay. Washi tape is great because you can reuse it over and over and over. It really isn't very hard to use. All right, so I've got that, and then I'm going to use basic gray. I wanted black and white, but I didn't want it so crazy stark. So I decided to use the basic black. Oopsie. As I move everything. Okay. Sometimes it helps to put a tape on the top and the bottom. I'm just being lazy. So the first time I did this, I was really lazy and I decided to smoosh, smoosh, smoosh. It was so much ink and so much everything everywhere. It made such a mess, and it actually was like spritzing where it bled right through, and my houndstooth was not very clear. Like it really bled into the paper. So I think the blending brush for this kind of detail is better. Take the time to just brush it in. You can use a sponge dauber as well if you don't have the blending brushes. Okay, there we go. And then see, it even, this ink pad is super juicy, obviously, but I even got a little bit of bleeding there. So make sure, you know, less heavy hand always helps. I tend to forget and then really push with my brush. And then what I did with that was I combined the two. I cut out my flower, just fussy cutting. And this was the finished card I came up with. So here I did, see, I went around, I was trying to cover that gray or crumb cake mark. And so I ended up with a darker line around, whereas I think this is actually gonna be a lot more beautiful without any of the lines showing. And I colored in the spaces, and I don't know. I'll have to finish this one, and then I'll post the two of them side by side, and you can see which one you like more. So this was all watercolor. Oh, I don't even know if I said, this is watercolor paper, so you can add quite a bit of water. It's very forgiving. And then these dots are from the, what are they called? I can't think what they're called. Nor can I find them. Where did they go? Maybe I'll have to, oh, is this them? No, this is not them. Oh, this is them. Ruh-roh. I don't know if these are still current. I thought it was the Glossy Dots Assortment is where these ones, and they just kind of looked to match really well. All right, and then you can see I just cut a piece of the houndstooth and I went along with the diagonal of the houndstooth. And I just added it to the background for some interest. And then I love this vertical happy birthday. This is from a new set that is in the mini catalog that I said was coming out. And it is called So Sincere. It has some really great sentiments, and it has this vertical happy birthday, which I absolutely love. So that's where that's from if you're looking for a vertical happy birthday. Okay, and then our third technique, so for those of you who might be new, if you haven't watched before, I tend to do 3, and I was gonna change things up for fall. I don't know, I haven't had too much time to spend to decide on my new format. I will be away taking my middle one to school, dropping him off at university. So I actually will be away next week. There will be no live next week, but starting after that, stay tuned. There might be a new format of Stamping A to Z. I've got to keep it interesting, right? All right, so this next one, this is the Wow Well, to me, they're all pretty wow today. What do you guys think? All right. We've got a plain piece of paper. How do we make it wow? I decided to use these leaves because, you know, I don't want to admit to it, but fall is coming. I know, how? Where did summer go? And then for this one, I feel like summer never happened. It went by way too fast. I'm putting the tape on the side here for this one because there's a bigger space here, and then I'm not missing out on some of the detail. So if you're worried about missing some detail, but you still want to tape it down, that's a good way to do it. I'm going to put another piece of tape here. Just to help out a little. Okay, there we go. And then instead of using color, here I used a sponge dauber and Versamark. Now, before I scare you when I open this up, it is dirty. And the reason I use dirty is because I'm doing several colors with chalk or pastels. And so I didn't want it to spread into the nice white Versamark. So we're using this one that looks, it just has got mixed, probably with embossing powder, it looks like. I used to use these for classes. Not to say that it was someone else. It very well could have been me. You know, you have your oopsie days. I've done it where I've stuck an inked up stamp that hasn't been cleaned into the Versamark, and then you get a, oh, it's a thank you or whatever you stamped. It happens, right? So just so that I'm not as sad when I do that, I like to use this one if I'm working with colors and my Versamark, and then if I do make an oops, then I'm not as sad. I don't know why I like to have one cleanish one. It does have a bit of mark on it now. I can't remember what I did the other day. And I had to be sad for a few minutes and then I got over it. You know, it's kind of like a new car or new hardwood floors, and you do everything you can not to scratch them. And then they get their first scratch. And then once they get their first scratch, then it's like, okay, now I can live. Not that you want to go around scratching things, but you know, it just makes it a little easier to handle. Am I the only one that's like that? All right, now it would help if I knew where my pastels went to. They were just out. Where did they go? I closed the box because I didn't want to mess everywhere. And then they disappeared. Oh, no wonder they're under my sample. All right. Now, these are the old soft pastels. So these colors are not the current ones. We still have pastels in the annual catalog, but this one has at least one retired color. It has Mango Melody and Coastal Cabana. No, Coastal Cabana is still in there. Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple, Mossy Meadow, still current. Poppy Praria. I think it's just the Mango Melody that's retired. And I looked, the new one has the pink. They're softer colors, lighter colors. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so then, oops, I gotta take my stencil off. Set that aside. And I don't know if you can see in the camera, there's Versamark all over the paper. And I'm gonna come in with my chalk. You could scrape some chalk and dab it on with a dauber. I'm doing this the good old messy way. I'm doing the resist. This was a technique I showed when I featured the pastels, in case you're wondering. And there's a whole lot of extra pastel I can use for a project, but you guys are gonna cringe because I have to pick it up or else I'm gonna make a mess. So I'm gonna wipe this with the dry just to kind of get that off. Now, I'm gonna change this up from what I did in my original because I want to try something new. I love trying new things, in case you haven't noticed. If something's not quite, well, you'll see. You'll see at the end, I wasn't completely happy with the result. So that's why I'm changing things. So here, I'm going to do another step. You don't have to do this step. You could be totally happy with it like this. I have a few more steps, but I'm changing it up. Should I change it? Yes, I am going to do this. We'll try. It might not work, but that's okay. I'm going to close this up. And I'm going to bring in my clear embossing powder because I have the Versamark, and I'm going to hope that it's sticky enough still that it's going to stick to my leaves. It doesn't, it's not promising. It worked well on the other one. I wonder why. Okay, never mind. I will do it the way I did it the first time. Okay, so I'm going to wipe. Oh, I bet you it's because I used the wet to wipe it. Okay, let's take off the oh my goodness, this is a messy live. All right, so then next step, we're going to, I'm rotating it 180 degrees. And then just trying to find kind of the most space, empty space still available. I'm going to go back with my Versamark. Do all this again. It's like making your own designer paper. And I'm going to show you, this is part of a fall suite. Not this, but the extra pieces I use. There is an autumn suite, of course. There is always a fall something and some Halloween and whatever. It is the most beautiful. I love fall colors. And they have the most beautiful paper ever. If you don't want the suite, if anything, I would not miss on this paper. I will show you a few sneak peeks of the new papers. I don't have them all, obviously. But I'll show you the few that I have. So you can kind of get a sneak peek. So now this doesn't look any different. You're like, why did you go through and do that again? Because now I'm going to take my purple. You could do green. I wanted purple. I like the purple fall. And now this is where I have the problem. What's going on? Why are we not? Because I was being too delicate. Okay. You lose a lot of the yellow by doing it this way. That's why I was hoping to emboss it. But that's okay. It still has some yellow. then you've got the added purple. And then once I was done this, on my sample, I embossed the purple part. Or I was hoping to emboss it all, but it wasn't sticky enough. And I don't think, I think I got lucky on that one, and it's not even as good as I would have liked. Now, the reason I embossed it is because I decided I wanted to color the background. I don't like how kind of scratchy it is. So I embossed it. I'm going to try and do this without embossing it. I'm going to use a very light Daffodil Delight, and I'm not going to use a blending brush. I'm going to use our old, what do you call them? No, not dot. Oh my goodness. What are they called? Rolly things. Oh gosh, I thought of it earlier. I don't know why. Just so that the color is a little more uniform. Like, I don't mind these scratches now that it's, but I think it's the white that I didn't like. This looks really distressed. I don't know what you think. It might be too messy for your liking. That's okay. This is just an option. Something you can do. But here's the beautiful finished card. So you can see it, there's a bit of clear embossing on there, but it's not everywhere. So it can be done if you do want to do it. You could you could do the pastels, reattach the stencil if you mark where the stencil was at, go over it with Versamark again, then go over it with the clear embossing powder. So there's a way, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way, right? And then I cut it out with the deckled rectangles because it has that more distress, and then it has these cute leaves, which is part of the sweetest, and I love this copper ribbon. Isn't that gorgeous? So that is part of, so here's the beautiful ribbon. Isn't that pretty? So that's new. And then this is part of the suite. It's called Autumn Leaves. And it has these beautiful stamps and sayings, and then it has all these beautiful leaves. So these ones actually make the, and then you can do all these cool kind of, and then labels. So it's got, you know, there's just so much you can do. Anyways, that's my background paper. So hopefully I've inspired you to pull out your stencils. They don't have to be this one, right? Like, you can do any of this technique with any other stencils that you have, whether they be layering or not, and you can have fun. So these are the cards for this week. Here's the host code if you're looking to order. We do still have our up to 30% off on our kits. If you're not sure about the kits, I did showcase them last week on my live, so you can go take a look at those. And yeah, hopefully you guys pull stuff out and craft away and post if you are, whatever you make. I'd love to see what you make. Tag me, and I'd love to see it. All right. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week. There will be no live next Wednesday. It'll be back the Wednesday after. All right. Hopefully, I don't want to say happy back to school, but I think it will be back to school by the time we're back. So have a great rest of your summer, guys. See you later. Bye.